Welcome to Critical DMG, a podcast about two best friends who might have grown up but never grew out of their love for the Game Boy. We will be playing and reviewing every North American title released on Nintendo's original handheld console. This is episode 13. I'm Tony, and this game was like a ray of sunshine on a rainy day.
Okay, and I'm Jeff, and we are talking about Solar Striker. So we got a ray of sunshine coming in. But before we dive too deeply into that, Tony, do you want to remind us about our quiz question from last week?
Sure thing. So for the Load Runner episode, Hyper Load Runner, sorry. Oh my goodness. Hyper Load Runner Labyrinth of Doom question.
Yeah, there you go.
Similar to Sokoban that we covered in the previous episode, there were lots of new Load Runner games that pop up now and then from different companies over time. And recently, in 2022, there was a new Load Runner game that was released for an older system. Jeff, did you know which system that was?
No, I don't. I could guess some, but they would just be straight guesses.
It was the Atari 2600.
Ooh, that was actually the first system I owned, so...
Yeah, which I thought was pretty cool.
Did not have Hyper Load Runner for it.
Well, there wasn't a Hyper Load Runner for it. What happened was a Load Runner, super fan named, and I apologize for this, I did not look up the pronunciation for this. I believe it's Dion Altsthorn.
Okay.
Got into contact with the rights holders at Team Tozai and worked with them to port Load Runner backward to the Atari 2600 in 2022, and it got a physical cartridge and a box and a bunch of quality of life features and stuff that the developer brought to it. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that's intense. Good on them. That sounds like a fun little project.
Yeah.
And by little, I mean a big project, but very cool. So, with that quiz question and knowledge out of the way, quick opinions. Tony, do you think someone should dust off their Game Boy, use the battery life to play Solar Striker?
Yes, unequivocally.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was good. So we'll hopefully get more into that as we break down the different sections. But yeah, I think both of us are in agreement that, yeah, play the game. It's good.
It's good.
We both think it's good, but what did the box say? Why should we play this? Why did Nintendo think we should play it?
Solar Striker. Protect the galaxy. Defend the universe. Solar Striker. You are locked in ferocious combat on an interstellar battlefield. Dodging and taking aim, alien rocket ships stream past, circle, and attack. There are too many to count. Fire, fire, fire! The enemy's first wave is repelled. A moment's rest, and the attack begins again. Gather extra life and firepower from floating energy cells. Prepare to duel Batwing fighters and insect spaceships, avoid churning energy fields, alien cruisers, and more. The battlefield is space. An alien armada approaches. Only one lone small ship stands in their way. Solar Striker.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty good as far as the back of the box goes. And one thing that stands out about it, which I don't know if you can maybe draw the same comparison, but it almost seems to me like old radio show script.
I could see that.
Like a teleplay sort of deal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way that they describe it, it reminds me of that, where it's they're not necessarily telling you something imaginary. They're just making this up for nothing. They're describing something almost like they're playing it and you're not.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I did in the manual, it, specified several hundred years ago, Reticulon? Is that how you say it? Reticulon.
I think it was Reticulon, yeah.
Reticulon sent messages conveying their intent to attack. It's oh, thank you for giving us several hundred years to, prepare for your attack. But
oh, I know. Yeah, the game takes place in 2159, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I guess in our Earth, it was released in February of 1990. actually developed by Nintendo. So it's a Nintendo proper IP. And I think one of the few shoot 'em up, shmups, scrolling shooter, whatever you want to call it.
STG.
Yeah, one of the few that Nintendo actually developed themselves. So a little interesting there.
Also the first one here for us on the Game Boy.
Yeah, our first entry into this genre of game.
Did you see that it was a Nintendo R&D 1 joint, but it was co-developed with another company that was behind some other games that we'll get to here on the Game Boy, I think much later on. I would have to check the chart. But the company, and oh my goodness, I forget their name, that co-developed Solar Striker with Nintendo R&D 1 also did almost all of the Mega Man games here on the Game Boy too.
Oh, Minakuchi Engineering? Is that it?
Minakuchi, yeah, okay. I believe. Yeah.
I'm cheating. I'm looking at the spreadsheet, so that's the only reason I know that. I'm horrible with the developers. I'm not very familiar with them, but...
Yeah, Minakuchi Engineering, yeah, I believe is who it was. And I was curious what else they had made, you know, knowing that Nintendo R&D 1, being the Nintendo first party, has plenty of the Game Boy titles and stuff under their belt. I wanted to know if the co-developer had done anything, and I saw that they did the Mega Man games, so I'm hoping that those are going to be really good too. As a Mega Man fan and a fan of this one, this game was good, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Is there anything else, background, anything that you want to talk about, or should we jump into the mechanics?
So the only other thing that I wanted to say was that not just Nintendo R&D 1 being responsible for this game, but Gunpei Yokoi, who is the designer of the Game Boy itself, was kind of like a big name attached to Solar Striker. And I really feel like that shows here, because this game does so much that I think fits the prototypical Game Boy game experience. So it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, the guy who made the Game Boy worked on this game. That makes sense.
I guess without getting too far ahead of ourselves, do you want to jump in the mechanics?
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on, because I have plenty to say.
All right, let's do it. So getting into the mechanics of this, the goal, pretty simple. You shoot the bad guys, you beat the bosses, you save the world. That's the goal of the game. And yeah, it's your typical kind of shoot 'em up gameplay. You use the D-pad to move around, and then the A and or B button will shoot. And that's it.
Yep.
Kind of as simple as it can be as far as controls. There are 6 stages in the game. Tony, how far did you get? Did you beat the game? Did you, I guess, run into any roadblocks or anything like that?
So, full disclosure, I had been dealing with a pinched nerve for the last few days, and that kind of stymied some things.
Makes it hard to hold a Game Boy, yeah.
Right, it made it a little harder to play games and all that stuff, so I didn't get as far as I would have liked to before it came time to get around to this episode, but through 2 sessions, the first I made it, I believe, about stage 3.
Okay.
Before I kicked the bucket. After that, I made it to stage 4 or 5. I did not beat it, but I came reasonably close. I came close enough to be satisfied, and I will definitely go back to actually try and beat it at a later time. But it wasn't ever like oh man, I am never going to get through to the end of this one. I can definitely see the finish line from where I ended up.
Yeah, I played a couple different times. There are no saves or passwords, so that's a little maybe frustrating, especially coming off the heaps of games that we've just had that have had that feature. So you have to start from the beginning every single time, or use, modern save states, etc.
Sure.
I got to the level 4 boss, and it was a nightmare. I could not get past it.
And this is, just for clarification, this is the boss that is like a screen-wide, just collage of bullets flying all over the place?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah, I struggled there. That was so then it was stage 4 that I lost it the second time too, because that's also, I remember that boss is where I died.
Okay. Yeah, the level 4 boss, it's kind of this diamond shaped thing that just spawns bullets from all over the place and fires them at you, and extremely hard to dodge all of those. So that's kind of where I hit a roadblock. Did end up looking at a few other people who have played it. Apparently that boss is relatively easy if you just move up and down, if you don't move left and right. So gonna go back and definitely try that.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that too. I was wondering if there was some kind of strategy. That's most of the rest of the bosses are pretty easy. That one was a big jump in difficulty for me.
I 100% agree. I got to the point where I played through hitless, taking 0 hits so I could bank up all of my lives and, you know, have the highest power up. So I think I went into the fight with maybe 5 lives and the best weapon upgrade.
Dang.
And then just died.
Wow.
So yeah, I got to the point where I could, essentially hitless stages 1 through 4. And I still couldn't get past that boss.
Wow.
So that was the point that I decided to, look up the meta on how to actually beat it.
Sure.
Every 50,000 points, you do get an extra life. So you start with 2, I believe.
You start with 2, which is, I will say, kind of low. What got me a lot of the time was knowing that at 50,000 point increments, I would get another life. So I would purposely try to defeat more of the enemies than I potentially needed to, because I wanted to rack up those extra lives and it would end up getting me killed. So it was like, man, I know that on my next life, I will get a game over and I'll have to do it all over again.
Yeah.
So I would overextend to try and knock out enough bad guys to get the next extra life marker so that I would at least maybe be able to make it to the next stage, and it would almost always get me killed, and then I would regret it.
Yeah. Again, because I was trying to get to the level 4 boss with the maximum number of lives. So anytime I would take a hit or die, I would reset. So I learned pretty quickly, greeting is not the play. Just
no.
If you don't get like the good, I guess, position on the enemies, just let them go and the points aren't worth it.
Sure.
And then you get weapon upgrades, which I think is extremely common, in this genre of game.
Yeah. Okay, so I do have a lot of positive things to say about this game, pretty much top to bottom. But one of the only real sticking points that I have, apart from that I feel the initial life count could be even just 1 higher, but my main gripe is with the power-ups.
How so?
It takes 2 stages of pickup to actually upgrade your weapon to the next effectiveness, but if you die, it drops you down 1 level, which I appreciate. I'm glad they don't completely wipe you powerless down to the base gun.
I agree.
I love that. I think that that's very nice that they did that, but
I agree.
It's not like it knocks you down literally 1 notch, and so you pick up a power up and you're back to where you were.
Yeah.
If you get hit at stage 3, you have to collect 2 new power-ups to get back to stage 3. And I think that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I found that to be kind of an interesting choice. So you collect 1 power-up. There are 4, I guess, levels that your gun can be. You collect 1 power-up, and it goes to level 2. And then to go from level 2 to level 3 and level 3 to level 4, you have to collect 2 power-ups in between, which was a little confusing to me the first time.
Yeah.
I didn't know if
it wasn't doing anything or not.
Exactly. I didn't know if it was shooting faster, which I don't think it was, or if it was dealing more damage, even though it was the same sprite. It was a little confusing. So didn't love that. But to your point, I did appreciate that when you lose a life, it doesn't knock you all the way down. I was really concerned that that was what it was going to do.
Considering all of the games that we've played leading up to now, basically do exactly that. Yep, Castlevania. Yeah, exactly. Castlevania, Motocross Maniacs. They've always done that. You know, if you lose a life, no matter whether it was a game over or not, you are back to square one, and I hate that. So one thing that I do want to say, which I don't usually get a lot of opportunity to talk about in these most recent games, is I've actually made a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up on the Game Boy.
Ooh, insider knowledge.
Playing through this one and then reminding myself as I was going through it of the kinds of things that I did in mine. And mine was just a template. I haven't like released like a full-fledged game using it. It's actually just like an asset template that other GB Studio devs can use to build a game off of.
Okay.
But in mine, I have multiple pickups like an invincibility or a powerful shot pickup or an increase in speed. And that makes me feel more like things are changing when you get a power up. And that's what is missing here, because the only thing that changes is your gun. There's no other kinds of pickups. You don't get like screen clearing bombs. You don't get any kind of shield. You don't get anything other than your gun now produces different shaped bullets or whatever. And I couldn't help but think as I was playing through Solar Striker of the like time that I had spent doing vertical shooter project stuff on my own, and like thinking how it could have been better. Right. Like how I would have looked at something like Solar Striker for inspiration. And I think I did, because I do believe I mentioned that I had played this game before in the last episode.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
okay. So that like I had played Solar Striker already for inspiration when looking for vertical scrolling shoot 'em up games on the Game Boy. And so playing through it again here, I could not help but think of the template that I had made, using this as like a jumping off point, because I do like it. I do like what's here. I think that it flows really well. I think the enemy patterns are really good. I think the bosses are pretty well designed for the most part.
Yep.
At least for the ones that I had seen up to this point. But it just feels ever so slightly lacking. Like it's good, but you can definitely tell that it is like the first of its kind on the system, very basic. And I know that you can look forward in the Game Boy library and know that we are going to have things like this game, but enhanced.
Yeah, and I think that's fair, right?
Sure, of course.
Like you said, it's kind of the first right. entry, and I think it was a very good
100%
first entry, you know, and you can always add more, but I kind of wonder, we have a lot of hindsight.
Absolutely.
And extra experience with other games and things like that, you know, I'm wondering how much these developers would have changed their games if they had that same knowledge, you know, if that makes sense. Like the Solar Striker devs could not go back and play Solar Striker while they were deving it, you know?
Well, I mean, you have to think about how many games like this were in the arcade previously to this game. So it's not like Solar Striker had no contemporaries around it.
Yeah, for sure.
To like learn from or to whatever. But taking that idea of vertical scrolling shoot 'em up, you know, whatever game that you might be basing it on, taking those things and condensing them down for the Game Boy.
Yeah. I mean,
like you can definitely make exceptions for that. I totally understand that.
Yeah, right. Like, you know, I would say this is a good step forward, but also I could agree with you. The power-ups felt a little clunky, and a shield would have been super cool. I can definitely agree with you.
Hindsight's 2020.
Hindsight,
you know?
Yep.
Like Solar Striker mechanically for what it is just fine. Like I am glad that there would be other stuff that could have taken this thing and added to it, but what is here works just great out of the box.
The last thing I want to talk about before we get into your favorite section, well, not your favorite section, but
no, not yet.
Because you have developed games like this, I am interested in a little bit of the maybe tech or, I don't know, limitations that go into it. Because this game also seemed to have a 3 fire limitation. So you could hold the A or B button and fire continuously, but it seemed to only allow 3 of the bullets on screen at a time. Very similar to Super Mario Land when level 2-3 and level 4-3, you know, when you had the ability to shoot things.
Right.
It also seemed to have a 3 bullet limit. Do you think that is something that is a tile limitation? Do you think the devs are making that as a gameplay decision that, you know, we don't want you just rapid firing or combination of both? I think I asked you this exact same question in Super Mario Land, and you
might have.
Yeah, I think you kind of said combination, but I found it kind of interesting that this game also seemed to have the exact same limitation of 3 shots, and just kind of wanted to pick your brain about that again.
So, interestingly, they are very similar because, yes, there is a limit to how many bullets that you can have, like, free floating at any one time. Not the enemies. The enemies here can be firing bullets all over the place.
It seems like it, yeah.
Without really any issues, yeah. But you are only able to ever keep 3, like, on screen. Except if you are destroying things with them in every shot. Like, you can basically shoot as many times as you want, as long as every bullet is actually hitting something.
Exactly, yeah.
When it comes to the bosses, you can just pretty much either mash or, like, hold the button down and just continuous fire as long as you don't miss.
It seems like as soon as the bullet sprite leaves the screen, so either gets to the top and leaves or hits something, you can then spawn another bullet sprite.
I think that there's definitely a decision being made to limit you so that you can't just, like, spam bullets all the time. But I also noticed there were a few times where after particularly hectic enemy patterns, like waves of enemies would come through, when I would clear them from the screen and the bullets, you know, like after the smoke had settled, we'll say,
yeah,
the game kind of hiccuped and, like, went faster than usual for just like a second or two. And so it definitely leads me to think it wasn't entirely a decision to be like, no, we just don't want you to spam. I think that it was at least in the scrolling sections and not necessarily a consideration for, like, boss encounters because you're not moving for those. I mean, you're moving around the little boss arena, but the screen's not scrolling anymore. But the fact that the screen is scrolling and the enemies are moving and you're moving and the bullets are flying and all of this stuff is happening at once, it probably was likely that they didn't want too many bullets flying around the screen at the same time when that was happening, because you'll also notice that a lot of the enemies take, like, a pause. Either after they've done a bullet shoot or before they've done a bullet shoot, they'll start flying, reach a certain point on the stage, and then either like shoot their bullet at you or pause and then shoot their bullet at you as they, like, keep moving. I would be willing to bet that that had something to do with it as well, because, like, it's pretty common when you are coding for something on the Game Boy that if you have a lot happening at the same time, you can put, like, pauses in between the routines that handle things like moving and acting and stuff like that, just to give the hardware kind of a chance to, like, catch up and not be executing all of these things at the same time.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's probably a little of A and a little of B, maybe a little more of one than the other. Again, as always, I don't have definitive knowledge on this sort of thing, but that would be my best guess, because you do have a lot happening at once.
Yes.
And I did notice that there was slowdown and speed up sometimes when things would get particularly hectic. But when it got to the point where you were mashing or holding the rapid fire well, not rapid fire, but you were holding the A or B button down and it would just let you do like a burst fire or whatever. If you were hitting targets, your bullets would just never stop.
Yeah.
You could just keep the bullets coming the entire time. So if it was a matter of, oh, well, we're swapping bullets for defeated enemies, so just keep them coming until they run out of things to destroy, it's difficult to really say, because that kind of shows that having enough bullets on screen doesn't really matter as long as you are actively taking out the other things on screen that might be causing the game to slow down or give you problems.
Oh, that's a good thought.
I would be curious to know, and I was unfortunately unable to really find a lot of development information about like the how behind the scenes that the programming of these things were made, but I would want to know, did they have the level as one long field of vertical space with enemies that were pre-placed and just waiting for you to reach them before they actively started to approach you or whatever? Or was it one small area that was just constantly being shifted down and they would just spawn in the enemy waves as they needed to?
At a certain like time point?
Exactly. There's different ways that you can go about it, and doing GB Studio introduces a lot of other elements into the mix that can make developing a game for the Game Boy not the same as if you were developing it from scratch using like assembly or something like that.
Yeah.
There's like other considerations that you have to have that would be like, well, I want to make this game, but I can't do it this way because it'll slow down more than if you were making it from scratch. You don't really have that problem.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And if you know what you're doing, you can make those things happen without really having to worry about all of the slowdown in the same ways. But at the end of the day, the Game Boy is still the Game Boy. It only has a certain amount of processing power and all of the rest of the things that you have access to. And if you overload it and too many things are going on at once, the game is going to suffer. And that doesn't really happen here in like super noticeable ways, but it does enough to make me think that the bullet count and all of the enemy behaviors and stuff like that were probably maintained to keep the game from just like collapsing on itself, essentially.
That makes sense. With that, I think that brings us to an end of the mechanical discussion. So let's have a quick ad break and then we'll get back with some creative stuff.
Oh, yes, ad break.
Dang it!
What's up, sport?
This game is too hard.
Aw, don't let it get you down. Why not take a break and listen to the Critical DMG podcast?
How would that help me?
It won't.
Then why would I listen to a show about two old people talking about Game Boy games for an hour?
Hey!
I think I'll just go back to Minecraft.
Are you making a Game Boy game? Awesome! But, how does it sound? 'Cause if it isn't something like this... or maybe like this... or possibly something like this... you might want to do something about that. And I know just who can help. Tip Top Tomcat specializes in authentic Game Boy audio that's been used in over 50 projects so far. If you need something quick, you can find bundles of pre-made Game Boy audio assets ready and waiting on tiptoptomcat.itch.io. But if you need something more custom, reach out directly by emailing thetiptoptomcat@gmail.com with inquiries about commission availability. And remember, you don't want your Game Boy game to just sound good. You want it to sound tip-top. And we're back. So, I guess it's kind of just a thing that I'm going to start because it's one of the first things that I notice about most of these games is the music.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was okay. not great, definitely not like memorable to me in the way that some of the other games have been, but not like, you know, disappointing to listen to. I think one of the only tracks that I didn't really enjoy as much was the boss tune, because the loop is really short.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is one of the few games that I found the title music, like the title screen music, to be worse than everything else. I found it to be just like very repetitive.
Yeah.
It did kind of give you like this futuristic-y kind of, I don't know, vibe. So I think it did a good job on that. And I think the music overall did a good job on that. But yeah, the title music just seems so... It just seemed like a very short loop.
I think that's a problem throughout the soundtrack here is a lot of the tracks are pretty short. Like they kind of loop on themselves really frequently. And
I could see that.
You know, it's whatever. In the levels, I don't really know that I noticed it as much, just because you're flying around trying not to get beamed by one of the enemies or their bullets that are coming at you or whatever. So I maybe wasn't focusing on it as much.
And you have different sounds. You have, you know, your fire sound, like when you shoot. You have when your bullets hit the targets and things like that. So there's enough else going on that, yeah, I feel like the soundtrack it's not completely in the front of your mind.
What did you think about the sounds? Did you think that they were good or bad? I'm pretty neutral on them. I think that they were good up until you got the final power-up. And I thought it went down the toilet really fast. I was like,
agree.
No, change it back.
Yeah.
Change it back.
So all of the shooting sound is the same until you get the final power-up, and then, yeah, they change it. And I don't like it. I like the initial sound of when you're firing much better than the final power-up. It just... Every time I got it, I was a little disappointed because, yeah, it just, in my opinion, doesn't sound as good. I did like that they change the, I guess, impact sound depending on what enemy.
Yes.
So
I loved that.
Yeah, I thought that was an extremely nice touch. There are little flying spider things. I don't know what you would call them. The game calls them harriers, I guess. But they're like little flying buggy things.
My favorite, obviously.
Obviously. They have a more like organic sound when you hit them. And then there are, you know, different tanks and things like that have a more mechanical sound. And then there are kind of like UFOs and things like that have a little bit more of like a sci-fi sound when you hit them. So I really liked that aspect that, yeah, they took the time to differentiate between those different enemies and the sounds that they make. And I like that. Power up number 4, bad, but I like that.
Not only is it that they took the time to make the hit sounds different, but, you know, 6 stages isn't really that long in the grand scheme of things. And for as short as this game is, there's a lot of enemies to see.
Yeah.
There's a unique boss at the end of every stage. Once you get to stage 4, there's actually a sub-boss like halfway through the stage, which was really neat.
Which is unique in stage 4, 5, and 6 all have a unique sub-boss.
Right, and they're not like the other enemies that you already have seen. And even though some of the enemies repeat, like you might see the UFO in one of the later stages come back, or the Harriers, like you said, the little buggy looking guys, they might come back. You don't just see every single enemy in the new stages over and over. It's every single enemy that you come across. Some of them are new, some of them are old. And the reason for it, I think, is really cool, because one of my favorite things about the game is that you can feel the journey that you are taking in this ship to reach the end of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
You start out in outer space, and then you go through different areas of outer space, through the atmosphere of the planet, until you are down closer to the ground. And so when you're in outer space, the enemies are big spaceships and UFOs and weird whatever. And then once you start getting closer to the surface, it's, you know, tanks and big transport vehicles and stuff like that. And you feel that you are making the descent to this hostile planet to, you know, end this assault once and for all or whatever. And you can see visually the different stages that you are going through to reach that next point. And I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, I think they did a very, very good job of that. There are big, you know, trucks that shoot laser beams at you. They are only seen in one level because they need roads to drive on.
Right.
And they do a very good job of world building with, one, the limited assets that are on the Game Boy, but then also in 6 stages. You know, that's not a whole lot of timeline like to world build. And I think they do a really good job of it.
If you are like more competent with vertical shoot 'em ups or whatever else, you can clear this game in, I don't know, what do you think that you would need to get through to the end? Probably like 20-30 minutes tops.
So yeah, the speed run is currently, I think, 15-ish minutes.
And I don't know that you can do that a whole lot faster because the game won't move any faster. It's on a belt.
Yeah, exactly. The only time you're losing time would be in the boss fights. So I would say, yeah, 20-ish minutes is probably plenty to play through if you know what you're doing.
And in those 20 minutes, there is a fun and interesting amount to see. There's different enemies. There's different backgrounds. The music changes after a couple of the levels in, and none of the enemies have the same patterns. They don't all fire bullets at the same time. The bosses are different. Like, for that very short experience, and this goes back to what I was saying about how you can kind of tell that the guy who basically like came up with the whole Game Boy concept knew what he was doing to help make this game feel like it was exactly what you wanted it to be on the Game Boy.
Yeah.
I know that we kind of breezed through the aesthetics here, but if you don't have anything else to say, I want to wrap back to the overall opinion because that's kind of where this is leading anyway.
I did actually have something else to say. I love that the manual for the stage 4, 5, and 6 boss, they just have a question mark. So the manual goes through and details kind of each enemy, and certain ones they have, you know, like notes on it. And my headcanon is that this is kind of like the, you know, Earth scouting report on these enemies and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's like the dossier.
Yeah, they give you the stage 1 boss, stage 2 boss, stage 3 boss with different notes on them. And then they give you the sub bosses for stage 4, 5, and 6, but the actual bosses, it's just a question mark. And one, I love that from like we're teasing this, we're not, you know, giving you all the information. And then I also kind of like in a more in-game setting, I love that it's like, yeah, we don't have all the intel on these bosses and things like that. So I appreciated that, and I like that they gave you some information, but then also left some up for you to find out in game and stuff like that. So I quite liked that.
It helps to flesh out what little story there is to tell in a game as compact as this. And I know that information like that being in the manual is something that just doesn't really exist in like modern gaming.
Yeah.
But it really is something that when you approach games like these, it's one of those things that really reminds you, this era of gaming, the manual is one of those things that if you want the complete experience for the game, a lot of times the manual is a must-have.
Yeah, exactly.
And not like physically, but just being able to read through it and see how they have characterized the different aspects of the game, like the locations or what your character is able to do or items and things like that. And I think we've had some manuals so far that were kind of, there wasn't really a whole lot to say as far as what they wanted you to get out of the game. This one, that is not the case. I don't know. It's just good.
Yeah.
Too bad we're getting to the wrap-up portion now. This game is good. This game is worth the batteries. Some of the games that we have played so far have really not set the bar much higher than the ground. It feels at some points. This one, that is not the case. Solar Striker is a total recommend.
I agree.
It's exactly what you want a Game Boy game to be. You want to put it in your Game Boy, play it for 20 minutes. Maybe you beat it, maybe you don't. You can challenge yourself to a 1cc, try not to die even one time, a hitless thing like you were saying. Bottom line is it's good. I know you agree. So
yeah, I would say unless you don't like this genre of game,
sure,
it's a good game. It's a good entry into it. Like we mentioned, there could be things that it could do better with, maybe some more diverse power-ups and things like that, but ultimately it's fun. It's fun to play, and I feel a good difficulty level, and yeah, I had a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah, if you don't like these kinds of games, I mean, I don't know that it would convince you. I don't really believe that that's a thing. If you don't like a certain type of game, I'm not one of the people that thinks like, well, there's just one game out there that's going to totally change your mind. That's not really how it is.
You just haven't done it right.
Exactly. Like, I don't think that that's really how that works. But if you do have some sort of interest in these kinds of games, especially these really kind of classic arcadey feeling like shooting games, this one is definitely a very nice way to kind of get your toes wet into the genre, because yes, there is a lot of the like bells and whistles and stuff that are missing, and that difficulty spike around the midpoint can be discouraging or whatever, but it's short enough and solid enough that I really don't know that you could go wrong by grabbing Solar Striker if you were just kind of wanting to see what all the hubbub was about with games like this.
Completely agree. It's approachable, and I think that's a good way to end our kind of our wrap up.
Worth the batteries, as we'll say.
Worth the batteries.
Now it's quiz time.
Oof. All right. So I'm currently at 78%, 79 if we round up. So
we're going for a B.
Hopefully.
You're going to get a B.
Hopefully. We'll see.
Oh, ye of little faith. Okay. Ready for Solar Striker quiz?
Let's do it.
Question 1. The story for Solar Striker is another first on the Game Boy, since it's the first space shooter, first definitively far future setting. I mean, like, if we ignore whatever Alleyway was trying to do anyway.
Well, wasn't Hyper Load Runner also far-flung? But that wasn't a Nintendo development, so that's fair.
And it wasn't what, because you're not really going through space, are you? Aren't you? You're like a prisoner.
Yeah, you're a prisoner, but I thought it was. God, we were getting so sidetracked.
Anyway, Solar Striker is the first game on the Game Boy where you're flying a spaceship through space.
Super Mario Land. He had a spaceship.
He's not flying it through space. Anyway, the point is...
We're going to cut all this out.
The point is that it's got evil technology and space combat, and there's a solo spaceship that's flying around saving the day. It hasn't been on the Game Boy, whatever. Contemporary articles and reviews at the time didn't make too much of the story from what I was able to read, though I did find a bit of an opinion on it from the summer 1990 Game Player's Strategy Guide to Game Boy Games. In their coverage of Solar Striker, what word did the author use to describe Solar Striker's story? A. Cliched. B. Inspired. C. Excellent. Or D. Good enough.
Okay, good enough is not a word. That's a phrase.
I'm allowed to throw in freebie answers.
I want to say good enough, but that's not a word.
No.
I can't imagine they said it was inspired, but did they? I'm going to say cliched. I'm going to say A, because I do agree with that the most. I feel like that's wrong because I don't know if it would have been a cliche back then, but I'm going to say A, cliche. Final answer.
It's A. It was cliched.
Let's go.
Yeah, I don't really know, because, it was only 1990, but yeah, the section of the publication on Solar Striker actually opens with the first line, quote, it's not an original story.
Wow.
And then it just kind of gives a recap of the premise of the game. I mean, the praise for the game is actually pretty high. After that, they compare the gameplay and the presentation to Galaga, which definitely holds.
Yeah.
Galaga is an absolute comparison here. So they had good things to say about it, but no, they called the story cliched.
Fair.
Which I agree with now, but again, back then, like, is it? Anywho, so all right, you're still doing good. First one, you got right, back on the streak, ready for question 2.
Question 2, let's do it.
While absent from Solar Striker's story and sprites, Mario actually did have a tie-in with this game back in Nintendo's past. There was, during the late 80s and through the late 90s, a licensed Super Mario manga series, sometimes referred to as KC Mario, due to being published by Japan's Kodansha Comics. Solar Striker shows up in the Super Mario Land iteration of the manga series with a time-bending story arc called Solar Striker Start, featuring a team-up between past and future. But even in that space-based future year of 2159, is it true or false that Bowser is still the one behind everything in the end?
Obviously true. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's actually true, but I'm gonna say obviously true.
It is true.
Let's go.
Spoilers.
Honestly, if you had asked true or false what I just said was a lie, I would have said that entire question was a lie, because I had never heard any of that before. But Bowser obviously is the foil.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's spoilers for the end of that like particular story arc of the Super Mario Land manga from July of 1990, everybody. But yeah, ultimately, it is a very old Bowser in disguise at the end who is trying to take over the Earth. And the fact is actually surprising to Mario and Peach in the story. But Mario then reminds Peach that Bowser, of course, is a turtle. So it makes sense that he'd live that long.
Obviously.
He's only in his like, I don't know, what is 1990 to 2159? He's only like 70 or something.
Yeah.
Mario tells Peach that turtles usually live for about 100 years, so it actually makes total sense that Bowser is still around.
Obviously. And he's a special turtle, so.
It's true. He gets caught and he just kind of admits defeat and walks away. All right, 2 for 2. Question 3. Despite having no cameos in its own game, another outside spot that Solar Striker showed up in was the Deke Entertainment produced cartoon Captain N, the Game Master, from the early 90s. During the episode, The Trouble with Tetris, the opening scene of Captain N and his companions flying through a field of asteroids is accompanied by a rendition of the music from Solar Striker's early levels. This doesn't last long, though, as the heroes and their ship are pulled into the gravity of a Tetris world, where they have to stop the villain, Mother Brain, from doing what? A. Turning all the inhabitants into Tetris shapes. B. Stealing the sacred square that powers the Tetris world. C. Solving an ancient Tetris puzzle first. Or D. Some wild other fourth thing, because this show makes very little sense.
Oh. D feels like such an answer you would throw in there just to make me laugh, but I love it.
I am. I'm going to continue to do it. Here, that's my behind the scenes, my inside baseball. When you always give it away, like, oh, I shouldn't have told Tony because she's gonna use this against me. And no, here is mine. I'm always gonna put the joke answers in D.
Oh, I feel like Mother Brain would change everyone into Tetris pieces, but also solving an.
Oh, but it's a Tetris world. Were they already Tetris pieces?
You know, but I feel like solving an ancient Tetris puzzle seems like it actually pseudo makes sense. I'm going to go with that one. That was C, right? I'm going to stick with C. Solving an ancient Tetris puzzle. I feel like it's actually B, but I'm gonna stick with solving the ancient puzzle.
Solar Striker, stick with your guns.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with C, final answer.
Too bad, it was B.
Dang it.
Mother Brain, the main villain of the show, follows Captain N and the other characters to the Tetris world in order to try and steal the Sacred Square. It was this artifact that pulled the hero's ship into the Tetris world with its power, and without it, the Tetris world would fall apart.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It doesn't. The show makes no sense.
Well,
I never saw the show when I was younger. It was definitely a little before my time, coming out in like 89 to 92 or something like that. But yeah, it's sure something. Sure something to watch.
it's something. So yeah, I'm still around 78%.
So you stayed put, right? You didn't go up or down?
Well, I was at 78.8 and I'm now at 77.8. So I went down slightly.
Oh no.
But as we go on in this journey, my overall percentage is going to change less, I suppose. But enough about my quiz. Let us know what the listener quiz is.
Sure. So, piggybacking off of that last question, for everybody at home, speaking of Captain N, the Game Master, for better or worse, it is a show that offers some very wild rabbit holes to go down. Many Nintendo cameos, promotions, and recurring characters come and go from different episodes over the show's 3-season run. However, one character is introduced in the show's 2nd season that is most relevant to what we do here. So who was that character?
I was going to throw out a blind guess, but
Yep, you'll have to wait.
I'll let our listeners do that and let us know what you think it is. I have no idea.
Yeah, I can't wait to tell you.
Thanks for listening to Critical DMG. If you would like to support us further, please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts and maybe recommend us to a friend or anyone else you might know who would like the show. It really helps us out, and we appreciate it.
Oh, all right. So what's on the docket for next time?
Next week, pretty exciting. We have our first real, cameo or licensed game, and we're going to be playing Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle.
Yes, I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this one. I've played the Nintendo version, so I'm excited to play the Game Boy version.
Okay, yeah, I have not played it at all, but licensed games always kind of have a reputation of being a little janky, but we'll see if this one holds up or how it does.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure I know exactly what this one's going to be about. I will have to maybe have the discussion when the episode comes around about what they do with the license and characters, I feel.
All right, well, join us next week and we'll get all into that.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.